so what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and put the sock on the sock jig. Sometimes I may stand it up on the table, but I find that it's much easier if I kind of just like rest it on my knee and then put the, hold on, let me get this in focus. All right, there we go. So I like to put it on my knee, and it just makes it, in my opinion, much easier to get the sock all the way on there. Hold on, my camera. All right, sorry about that. All right, so then what we're gonna do is that I take the sock and then I start just by pulling it on. And what I like to do is that I like to get the tip of the sock all the way on there first before I start pulling the rest of the sock down. And then what I'll do is that I'll just start to pull it down. I'm not gonna overly stretch it, but I wanna make sure that my design is able to cover the entire sock. So then once I get it on there, then what I like to do is that I will go ahead at this point and just make sure that any of the lines right here, I want them to be straight. If you look right here, let me see if I can turn it more. There we go. So if you look right here, the lines are kind of going all over the place. So I'm not looking for perfection, but I don't want it to be just overly crooked. Okay. All right, I won't be able to get every piece, you know, straight, but, I mean perfectly straight, but that's good enough for me. So then what I do is that I will then take my lint roller and then just try to get as much, any debris or anything that I have on here, get that off. I'll do both sides. Okay. All right, now what we'll do is I will go ahead and do the second side. Now, I'll probably fast forward this portion because I'm just repeating exactly what I just did for the first side. Okay, there we go. All right. And then you're just using your thumb. Well, for me, I just use my thumb. Just kind of slide it over a little bit. Okay, that looks good. Okay, we'll do the same thing. All right, that looks good. All right, so once I get the socks on the sock jig, then what I like to do, I'll use the lint roller. Okay, just to get any sort of debris or anything off of it. And I'll usually go back over it again a few different times. Okay, we'll flip it over, do the same thing. All right, so once I get it exactly how I want it, then what I'll do is that I like to make sure that these lines are straight. So you can see how it kind of goes down and then it kind of curves over this way. So I'll make it straight. It doesn't need to be perfect, but this could just be a little part of OCD for me. We'll just move that over just a little bit. Just want to make that line straight. I like that looks good. Okay, we'll do the next one. I don't like how this is kind of curved, so I just bump it up just a little bit. And we'll do the same thing. See, this is all over the place. So move it over, make it a little straight. All right, that looks good enough. All right, so next thing we'll do is, that was loud. We'll go and print out the design. All right, so what we're gonna do here is that we're gonna go ahead and get started with turning the heat press on. What I like to do is that I press my shirts for 60 seconds. I'm sorry, not my shirts. I press my socks for 60 seconds at 400 and sometimes I do like 405, 410 degrees right here. Let's see, we'll change that to 410. All right, so we'll go ahead and just let that heat up, and once it's done, then we will go ahead and press. All right, what I'm doing right here is that I'm going ahead and I'm printing out my two images, one for the front and then one for the back. So when the colors come out, the colors don't necessarily look exactly how they're going to look once they're printed. Once they're pressed. The colors typically turn out sometimes a totally different color. It's just the colors seem to be a bit dull. But then once you press it, you'll see a tremendous change as far as how that actual print looks. All right, so here is my image that I printed. Just so you can see what it looks like before I actually put it on the socks. All right, so I know everybody has their own way of, doing the socks. So for me, there's two options. You can, of course, use the heat tape. I personally don't actually use the heat tape for the socks, only because what happens is that I notice the tape gets a little bit stuck to it, and I can kind of see a little bit of a difference in the sock. It kind of messes up the material a little bit. So what I do is if I use anything, I'll use the Dye-Trans spray that I got from Condi. And this is good to use. I found another option, which is, I think it's called basting spray, which is a little bit cheaper than this. So I may do a review of how I like that. But what I'll do is that I just lightly mist it. That's it. Not a lot, just enough to kind of put, the socks on there. And then what I do is that I'll lay my sock flat. I just actually lay it right on there. Just like this. And I'll put it kind of close together. And you just want to line it up until it looks pretty good to you. Okay, that looks good. Looks like this one is not. All right, there we go. Perfect. So right here, I like to have a little bit of a bleed. Very little, but just a little along right here and along the edges so that I don't miss a spot. Then what I'll do is that I will pick this up and then take it to the press. All right, so now we have it on the press. At the bottom here, I don't know if you're able to see it, but I have my butcher paper to protect the bottom part. You want to do it, have your image face up. And then what I do is that I put the butcher paper on top of it just to protect the top part. Looks like I need another piece. I'm gonna turn this off. Okay. All right, now we'll go ahead and press it. Okay, and we're gonna go ahead and leave this on for a full 60 seconds. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna take the butcher paper. We're gonna go ahead and move that to the side. And then we're gonna go ahead and carefully remove this. You don't wanna just snatch it off. Okay, that looks good. All right, so we have the first side done. Hold on, let me back this up a little bit so you guys can see. I don't want to touch it because it's super hot. I'll lay it flat so you guys can see it. Okay. All right, so here I am. I laid it flat just so you guys can see the first press of the design. All right, so now what I do is that once I press it, before I actually go to the next sock and start working on it, let me get this in focus, is that on the sides, you can see how it's, let's see, like white around the edges. That part you don't want. And so what it is that I do and what it is that everybody else, well, most people do that I've actually, try to get this in focus here for you guys, is that you just want to kind of slide the edges over. You see how instead of it being white, it's now colored. You just want it to be colored on both sides. Not too much, you just want to do it to where it's just more of the color on both sides. Because what will happen is that now every portion of your sock is going to be completely covered. Definitely never forget about doing the toe part. So you move that back. Okay, you can see I'm just inspecting it, make sure I didn't miss anything. Okay, got a little white area right there. Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do the next sock. Okay, one thing that I didn't do that I meant to do was I normally cut around the white edges so that I don't have so much paper that I'm laying over it. So I forgot to do it on the first time, but it just makes it easier when you're actually laying it on top of the socks. Keeps it from, you know, any accidental moves or anything along those lines. Okay. When I edit the video, I'll probably speed this part up. All right, so that's done. So as you can see, because it's smaller, it just makes it easier to just lay it on top. All right, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go ahead and spray this other side with the Kandi Pro Spray on here. We're just gonna lightly mist it. Okay. And then, let me bring this in a little bit closer here. Okay. So right here, as you look down on the sock, you can see the color part around. That's usually a good indication for me that I have enough overlapping to where I'm not going to have any white edges. That is the goal, which is another reason why I make it a little bit wider than the socks. Okay. I'll push down, look under, make sure that the toe is covered. Let's see, I think I'm gonna move it down just a little bit. Okay, I think that's good right there. All right, perfect. Now we're gonna take it over to the heat press. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and do the final press now. Just wanna notice that this corner was rolling over. Oh, and I almost forgot the butcher paper. All right, now I'm about to press it. This is how I design and print my socks. All right, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what your process has been doing these socks. Thank you for watching.